Welcome to Forum 360. I'm Sally Henning. Our special guest today is Dr. Brian Harte, the new president of Cleveland Clinic, Akron General, and Cleveland Clinic's Southern Region. And my co-host, as always, is Diane Robinson. Diane?
Good morning.
Good morning. And she's got some, and first of all, we want to let people know who you are. And Dr. Harte joined Akron General in September and previously served as president of the Cleveland Clinic, Hillcrest Hospital in Mayfield Heights, and Dr. Harte is a practicing hospitalist, the doctor that actually goes to the hospital as opposed to seeing people in just their offices. And he's also former chairman of the Medicine Institute at Cleveland Clinic. Dr. Harte earned his undergraduate degree from Yale University and his medical degree from the University of Pennsylvania. He completed, where my niece currently works, I had to say hi, Becky. He completed his residency in internal medicine at the University of California, San Francisco, and was in private practice for 5 years prior to joining the Cleveland Clinic in 2004. Welcome to Akron and welcome to Forum 360, Dr.
Thank
Harte.
you. Thank you, Sally. Thanks, Diane. Glad to be here.
Again, we welcome you and look forward to this conversation we're about to have here. And Dr. Harte, I would like to begin today's discussion by asking you what has been the most exciting or surprising experience since taking on this role?
Other than coming on this show.
Other than, well, you stole my thunder.
Yeah.
I think the most exciting thing has been really to get to know and engage with the Akron community and the Akron General caregivers. Akron General, Cleveland Clinic Akron General has about 5,000 caregivers, and of course the entire city of Akron is really a new environment, a new community for the Cleveland Clinic. Up in Northeast Ohio, we're very involved in community activities and engagement. Dr. Cosgrove obviously is one of the Northeast Ohio leaders as well as nationally, and so to bring that and know that I represent that to the Akron community, and also hear out what is on the minds of both our caregivers and our bigger community in Akron it's been really interesting. It's been very exciting. And it's, I wouldn't say it's been surprising, but it's been I've really appreciated how well I've been received. All of our caregivers and employees and physicians and others at Cleveland Clinic Akron General itself have just been very welcoming, and a real delight to get to know them.
Good, thank you. Now tell us, what has been the most challenging?
I think there are a couple things that have been the most challenging. One is just getting to know all these new people. It's as I said a few minutes ago, it's a new world for me. It's kind of a new community for the Cleveland Clinic, and so trying to learn names and faces and people and history. I think it's important for everybody at Cleveland Clinic especially to recognize that while the Cleveland Clinic is 5 years old, Akron General is actually 102. So Akron General is an older organization than the Cleveland Clinic, and to respect that history, respect those traditions that tie with the community. So just getting to just the scope of the work of becoming familiar. The second thing that's been really challenging, I think, is just communicating across a big organization. Akron General isn't just the medical center down in Akron, it's also Lodi Community Hospital, it's Edwin Shaw, it's a multitude of outpatient and ambulatory facilities. There's some bigger facilities in Bath and Montrose and Greene, but there are other locations throughout the greater Akron community, and so communicating with everybody and having confidence that my messages are getting through is a bit of a challenge, and something that we're always working on.
Excuse me, when you have two organizations that both have such histories, more than 90 years, more than 100 years, how do you go through the process of identifying the best of both cultures, and how do you look for synergy? How do you look for applying the best and minimizing the worst?
Wow. So
not that there is any worse.
it's all relative.
All
it's all great to good, right? I think that really is the job. And so a lot of it, again, is walking around, being present, being visible, being trusted, so that when I ask questions, I can believe that people are being forthcoming. I'm a big believer in transparency, and transparency meaning I want to know everything about how we're doing today, what works and what doesn't. And so a big piece of the job is listening and hearing what our caregivers and patients and community and our physicians and everybody that's involved in healthcare hear what is working well and what isn't. I think one of the most reassuring things that we've come to learn is that we have very, very similar philosophical approaches to patient care, Cleveland Clinic and Akron General. Toby will often use the phrase, we will all often use the phrase patients first. That's really our guiding North Star to how we do everything at Cleveland Clinic, and we have found that the culture of care at Akron General mirrors that philosophy very much, patients first. So it's really a process of starting with that and then having conversations with everybody we possibly can, that I possibly can, to put that picture together and see where the best synergies are and where the work has to occur. And we can learn from each other, Akron General and Cleveland Clinic. It's really the integration of two great healthcare systems.
Wow, very good, thank you. Tell us, how has Akron General benefited from becoming a part of Cleveland Clinic?
That's a great question, and I think it's there are a few ways where Akron General has realized some early gains from being part of the clinic, and some of this will play out into 2017. The Cleveland Clinic has a lot of resources in terms of quality patient care expertise that Akron General is benefiting from. We've been able to use the affiliation agreement to help improve the facilities at Akron General, and one of the first things that we'll see coming out of the ground within a couple months is a new emergency room. So that's one example. We'll see some other facility and equipment improvements in 2017, especially in the areas of cancer care. And I think the other really big milestone that is a reflection of joining the Cleveland Clinic is the electronic medical record. So currently, everywhere you go in the Cleveland Clinic health system, minus Akron General, all of the facilities, all of the providers, all of the care is
They're all linked?
Is linked, thank you, by the same electronic medical record. So if you go to see an urgent care provider here in Hudson, and then a primary care provider in Twinsburg, and then, God forbid, you're hospitalized, if you have to be hospitalized at one of our Cleveland Clinic facilities, your information will follow you everywhere you go. Akron General is not yet on that system. We've been working throughout the bulk of 2016 to prepare Akron General for joining that electronic platform, and that'll happen, we anticipate, at the end of April. And so that'll be transformative in terms of the ability to both keep track of information throughout the continuum of care and extend the opportunities to improve care everywhere in Akron General. Already, many of our outpatient physicians, our providers, and the Akron General physicians are on that platform. That's what the bulk of 2016 was. So in 2017, we extend that to all of our hospital and other facilities. And that's going to be really exciting. It's going to be a ton of work, but it's better for patients.
That was developed by a Dr. Applebaum in Cleveland, wasn't it, originally, many years ago?
I don't know.
Anyway, but
you'll forgive me. I'm not. I love history, but that piece I don't know.
But it just seems so challenging to bring everybody at the place where you could just go in and your records are right in front of your treating physician or whoever is looking at you.
It's a lot of work, especially to transition to that, to go from one system to a new system is an enormous amount of work, both behind the scenes with our resources and our colleagues in information technology, and then onto the front lines, because all of this information we have to learn, whether you're a nurse or a respiratory therapist or a physician, or frankly a patient, because there's a patient module called MyChart. So that's one example of the way that is actually truly a gift for patients, is you can keep track of your own healthcare and healthcare milestones, scheduling appointments through the app that becomes available in the sequence of events. But it is a lot of work to learn how to do that. But at the same time, I think it's what we expect with the technologies that are available to us in our everyday lives. Healthcare, in some ways, across the nation is kind of behind that curve, and I think the clinic has been at the very forefront of making the best-in-class technology available to both, again, patients as well as our caregivers.
So the patient at home doesn't have to just die on the line to call up to get information about themselves. They and their family can get online and find out everything they need to find out about appointments and
scheduling and test results and history and messaging messaging actually in some cases with your doctor. Yeah, there are a lot of opportunities that become available to improve patient care once you're fully on the electronic platform.
Amazing.
It
It's
is.
amazing.
Very good. Tell us, how has Cleveland Clinic's ownership of Akron General affected patients other than what you just shared with us about
Yeah.
the technology?
Yeah, what we've been really excited about is some of the high-end expertise that Cleveland Clinic specialists has been directly, they brought directly down to Cleveland Clinic Akron General. So 2 examples are one of our cardiac surgeons. So if you hadn't heard, Cleveland Clinic is fairly renowned for cardiac
Yes.
care and cardiac
Yes.
surgery.
I've heard
Yeah,
about that.
Yes.
newsflash.
Huge new building.
But that's right. But so one of the Cleveland Clinic Heart and Vascular Institute surgeons, Dr. Lahora, came down to Akron, I think, about right at the time of the affiliation agreement, and really allowed that program to really take off in partnership with the cardiologists and other heart and vascular providers that were there. And so he's really been one of the, I think, milestone accomplishments clinically.
An asset.
Yeah, and another asset has been specialty cancer care. So there's a gynecological oncologist who has come down as well and is seeing patients. So I think you'll see more and more of that as we develop specialty service lines that the Cleveland Clinic's expertise is fairly renowned for. Neurological services might be another one. And part of that is bringing new providers down, and part of it is just developing better partnerships with the providers that are already there. And so that's going to be really exciting to watch and be part of.
So it's special clinics aimed towards all segments of the community with respect to such issues as cancer, it might be women's issues or neurological issues.
That's right,
all being
or others,
provided.
that's right, yeah, that's right. It's really exciting.
Just amazing.
Tell us, what are the upcoming milestones that we'll see Cleveland Clinic Akron General reach in 2017?
Yeah,
Short time.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
let me
a
interrupt
few weeks
you.
away.
Before you start talking about the milestones, let me remind our audience that you are tuned into Forum 360 of the Air. Our very special guest today is the new head of Cleveland Clinic Akron General Medical Center, Dr. Brian Harte, and my co-host Diane Robinson. I'm Sally Henning, and we were just asking Dr. Harte about milestones. Excuse me.
2017 is going to be a really exciting year for Cleveland Clinic Akron General and the Akron community. I've mentioned a couple things already. We're going to actually start the actual physical work on the new emergency room, and you're going to see that come out of the ground, although it won't be finished in 2017. It's going to come out of the construction's going to have a fairly rapid pace, and so by late spring you're going to see visible signs of progress every day. I mentioned as well the electronic medical record implementation that is currently scheduled for the end of April, and that's going to be really transformative. There are some other milestones that we hold important. For instance, we're actually one of only about 400 magnet hospitals in the world, and so we're applying for redesignation. That's going to be a big deal, really an all hands on deck effort at the Cleveland Clinic.
Let me interview Magnet Hospital. What is that exactly?
So Magnet Hospital is a designation by a nursing organization that I believe is called the ANCC, and what it really reflects is that the standard of nursing care and practices throughout the hospital meets the highest standards, the benchmark standards of the best hospitals, not just in the country, but the world. It's a 4-year designation. And as I said, there are very few hospitals that meet those criteria. We got our first Magnet designation in 2013, and it's a 4-year cycle. We just got it at Hillcrest for the first time when I was there a couple years ago, and it was
Stunning.
probably it was one of the most exciting and I think biggest milestones that we hit when I was there. And so just to get reaccredited is in and of itself a great monument to what happens there, and the hard work and the culture of care. So you asked before about how do you measure the culture. Part of it is by what you achieve, and the ANCC surveyors, that's the organization, come in and they look at every aspect of care to decide if we're worthy of one of those, is this a top 400 or so designations?
Yes, I did note that it was one of 400 within the nation.
World, it's
within
a
the
little over
world.
400. I think
Okay.
Hillcrest was 402, and that was about 2 years ago. So
In the world.
In the world, yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, so it's really exciting. So there's a lot of work involved in those activities, getting ready for those kinds of things. So 2017 is going to be a great year.
Good.
Well, how do you get the energy to do all of these things? I mean, you've got so many balls in the air. Is that the right expression? You've got so much going on.
We're talking about juggling, right?
Right,
Yes.
okay, juggling, right.
First of all, I have a lot of help. I have help from both the Cleveland Clinic. I have a great team that I'm part of. I have a lot of experience and advice that I can tap into, not just from the other hospital presidents, but the rest of the organization. The strategy team that I work that really developed this relationship with Akron General is one that I still rely upon every day. And the team at Akron General has been phenomenal. They're excited to be part of Cleveland Clinic. They're excited to really be the center of activity of all Cleveland Clinic activity, really south of Cleveland. It's a great opportunity for all of us, and they've been a great team and know that part of this work that we have to do really means running at 1,000 miles an hour. And I guess the second thing is it's fun and it's exciting. One of my first one of the first bosses that I had at Cleveland Clinic said, the best thing in the world is to be able to work with great people on compelling issues and learn a thing or two along the way. And I work with great people. The integration of Akron General and Cleveland Clinic is certainly exciting and compelling, and I've learned more than a little. I've learned a lot. So finding the energy to come to work every day and make our organization, our community better is a lot of fun, and finding the energy is easy.
Well, you also have to deal with not just medical and technical issues, but also so many changes in the advances in medicine and as well as law and regulations. How do you keep up?
Like I said, I have a lot of help. Healthcare has a lot of regulation and legal and compliance issues, and it should, because if I'm a member of the community seeking healthcare, I want to know that any healthcare organization meets high standards. And I think one of the things Cleveland Clinic brings is an absolute aspiration to set the standard for everyone else. But I have a lot of help in terms, and a lot of expertise both at Akron General and at Cleveland Clinic. So if I don't know the answer, which is often, there's somebody that I can call and get the answer.
Tell us, what is the most important thing that the community can do to help you and the organization?
Yeah. I think the community plays a lot of key roles in an organization like Cleveland Clinic, Akron General. If I had to say what's the most important thing, I would actually say, again, I'd say there's two things. Number one is you should hold us to the highest possible standard. I mean that very sincerely. This is Cleveland Clinic, and it's Cleveland Clinic Akron General, and it really is the best of two great worlds. But by the same token, if I'm seeking out my care at Cleveland Clinic, I'm expecting a lot in terms of patient-centeredness, quality, safety, communication, and the experience. Most people don't like being sick. For many, it's the worst time of their lives.
Sure.
And so from the standpoint of demonstrating empathy and compassion, I hope you expect a lot from us. And along with that, though, we always want your feedback. I talked before about transparency. Transparency is simply being open to hearing that feedback. We expect that every single time we will be exceptional, but we also know that without the feedback of how we're actually doing, we can't possibly reach that standard. So hold us to a high standard, but also give us your feedback. When we do great, when we do well, when we do things that are really resonant with our mission, please tell us, because we need that positive feedback. And on those hopefully exceedingly rare occasions where we don't, we want that feedback too, so we can always do better.
And do I understand that you have plans in place to determine how to best deal with the shifting needs of the community?
Well, we do. So we it's interesting because I was just at the State of the County Health annual report last Thursday, and clearly this community, both the greater Akron community, Summit County, as well as all of Northeast Ohio, has very compelling and pressing and challenging needs when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to wellness. In addition, every few years, every 3 years, in fact, we just are in the midst of completing this project now. We partnered with Kent State and the other Akron area healthcare organizations to do a community health needs assessment. So we have a pretty good sense of what's going on in the Summit County and greater Akron area, and frankly in the greater Cleveland, Northeast Ohio area. Many of the problems are similar, although there are some differences in terms of severity. So we actually do a lot of investigation, then we partner with other resources to figure out how we can be helpful. So infant mortality or wellness, cancer screening, access to primary care. Those are the kinds of things that we work with other partners on to try to gauge the needs of the community. And because we do this regularly, as the community's needs shift, we should be able to shift as well.
You've shared at the milestones for 2017 with us. Are there other priorities that are moving into place that you would like to share with us? There's just a lot going on in healthcare in general. I think there's a lot of opportunity for us to be creative and do things differently. At the Cleveland Clinic, I think we bring a history and a spirit of creativity and innovation about how we can always be delivering care better. So nothing specific on that regard, but we all recognize that healthcare is changing and changing rapidly, and we aim to be at the forefront of the kinds of ways to make care better for all of our community.
What made you decide to go in this direction as opposed to being a hospitalist? I mean, there's a big change between being an administrator and being a hospitalist.
It is. I have to credit the boss I mentioned before. His name is David Bronson. He might be watching or listening as we're airing this.
Probably both.
He really challenged. I was a hospitalist under his watch, and he just really challenged me to push my experiences and career in ways that I never, frankly, imagined. And so he sort of laid out a path for me and some others to become more involved in hospital administration. The Cleveland Clinic is an organization which is fairly renowned for its for having physicians in leadership roles throughout the organization, and Dr. David really encouraged me to do that, and he never gave me a bad piece of advice. So it's been really exciting.
Was there anything that's happened that stands out in your mind as being the most surprising, just with respect to your role in moving from a hospitalist to administrator?
I'd say the most surprising thing is that I'm sitting here in Hudson talking about how I'm now a hospital president and have been for the most part of the last 6 years. If you were to go back in time even 10 years, I would have thought, if you had said that this is where I'd be right now, I would have, probably had you hospitalized.
Well, because, you have the authority to do so.
That's true. I still do. I just think, I think there's never been a better or more exciting time to be in healthcare. There's a lot of uncertainty, so you have to be comfortable navigating somewhat uncharted waters when it comes to the ambiguity of where things are going in healthcare from a policy standpoint. But the kinds of careers and career opportunities that are available, and I think I'm living testament to that, quite frankly. As I said, I never thought this job would be appealing at all, much less interesting, exciting, compelling, and I think it's just been a lot of fun for me, and I hope that the people I've had the real privilege of working with have grown as much as I have.
Well, speaking of career opportunities, what advice do you have for young people who might be considering a career in some aspect of medicine or treatment?
I think that's a great question. As I said before, I think going into healthcare presents, there's never been a more exciting time. And so I think I'd have actually probably two pieces of advice. One is just to take the time to learn about the different kinds of careers that are available, because I think new opportunities are emerging all the time, and it's not just being a doctor or a nurse. There are many, many careers in healthcare that are available. Respiratory therapy, radiology technicians, pharmacists. Really, I think, and there's new ones emerging all the time. 15 years ago, being a nurse practitioner was fairly unusual. Now, it's one of the cornerstones of care delivery. So I think there's many, many opportunities. So take the time to learn about those. And the other thing I'd say is, learn a little bit about the bigger world, because the ability, a lot of what we have learned in nursing school and and technical school and medical school is about medical knowledge, and we really need to emphasize empathy and communication skills, and that would be my biggest piece of advice, actually, is learn how to communicate and empathize.
Have you been teaching also?
A little bit. I still have a faculty appointment at the Cleveland Clinic Lerner College of Medicine, and once a year at least I do teach medical students. So it's still part of what I love doing.
It's just such a tremendous balance between teaching and administering, and are you still practicing medicine?
A little bit. I just got the ability to practice at Akron General, so I have to figure out how to do that. But I did a little bit at Hillcrest, and I wish I could do more, but to the point you'd made before, I do seem to fill up my days with other activities. But carving out the time to see patients is a key link back to why I'm doing this in the first place.
You've been tuned into Forum 360. My co-host is Diane Robinson. Our special guest today, the new head of Cleveland Clinic's Akron General. And I'm Sally Henning on behalf of Forum 360. Thank you for being tuned in.
Forum 360 is brought to you with support from Electric Impulse Communications, Kim and Harvey Nelson, Rubber City Radio Group, Akronist.com, Hudson Cable, Medical Mutual of Ohio, Forum 360 supporters, and the Shaw Jewish Community Center of Akron.